I'm sure you can understand our need to cut corners around here.
Oh, sure, yeah. Times are tight, you gotta free up some cash. You gotta spend money to make money, right?
Exactly.
So let's talk about Federico. He just put out a video last night. Federico Talks Watches, great channel. And he just dropped some truth bombs yesterday that have shaken the watch world as everybody watches it today. He's very good at doing that, our Federico, and we love him for it. I'm going to talk about why I think he's 100% correct in everything he says. And I'm going to drop another truth bomb that's related to it. Maybe something that you don't know that we YouTubers are aware of. Let's take a look.
Business is selling an image, and part of my job is to live that image.
All right, honey, do me a favor.
Me, sorry.
Would you just say whatever you want to say and spare me the propaganda?
All right.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. Coming to you from the studio this time, not my usual Venice walkabouts that you're used to. So instead, I put Venice in the background. Look at that as a kind of consolation. What am I wearing today? I am wearing the Piguet Royal Oak Diver in green. Love this watch. It's very me. And matches with my shirt perfectly. Is that a coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. So let's get on to the actual topic of this video. So Federico from Federico Talks Watches put out a video last night talking about consigning watches and why it's a bad idea. Consignment in general. I'm sure he's not earning himself any friends in the grey market world for this, because it's got to be a little bit angering, a bit annoying to them to hear this kind of truth go out to the general public. He did a video about 6 months ago talking about his actual earnings and what watch dealers, grey market watch dealers in particular, earn, which slightly contradicted what they would have you believe, at least for the optics of their various videos. So that's got to be annoying to them too. So it seems to me that Federico, he's been around a lot longer than most channels, and it seems that the truth is more important to him than just profit. So the whole topic came up because of the recent Timepiece Gentleman scandal. Yes, the guy is back in the scandal world again. Surprise, surprise. Anthony Ferrer, the Timepiece Gentleman, has gotten himself into a bind to the tune of $5 million. He says that he's owing to both investors and people who consigned watches, about $2 million worth of consigned watches, according to Anthony, if we're to believe him. And of course, everybody has been talking about this, including myself. And Federico finally released something last night with his comments, not addressing Anthony Ferrer himself as a man, not making any ad hominem attacks against the man's character, although I do think that those should also be included because they actually do play a role in this whole disaster. But to Federico's merit, he did not broach any of those things. He just spoke about consigning watches in general and the caveats involved and why he thinks it's not a good idea to get into that kind of thing. So kudos to him for staying away from the drama edge of it and just sticking to the facts about consigning watches. So what is consigning watches? What does that entail and why would you do it? So when you go to sell your watch at a grey market dealer, they will offer you money for it right there and then, if it's a watch they're interested in taking at all. And if you're happy with their offer and you decide to sell to them, they'll either give you cash right there and then or do a bank wire or whatever. It's a fairly easy transaction. But some grey market dealers will offer you a second option. You can take the money right there and then, or they'll offer you a better price if you hand them your watch and consign it. That means they'll take your watch and put it into their inventory, stick it in their window, on their website, whatever the case may be, and sell it on your behalf. Then they'll take their cut and they'll give you a larger sum of money. How much larger? Usually not that much, maybe $500 to $1,000, depending on what the watch is. Let's take a standard example, the Rolex Submariner, the 2023 model, let's say it's a beautiful new condition, that goes on the market for maybe between 14 and 14,500 on the market right now. They may offer you about 12 right there and then. Or if you consign the watch to them, they'll offer you 13. So you'll get an extra 1,000. And that's the reason why a lot of people do go for consignment. They're not in a huge hurry to sell the watch. They're happy to make as much money as possible, and they're happy to wait for that extra money. But the question, why would you consign your watch rather than just sell it, is not the powerful question here. It's not the pertinent question. The more powerful question is, why would they offer you 1,000 more to consign it? If they're sure they're going to sell the watch eventually, why wouldn't they just buy the watch as cheap as they can right there and then and make themselves the maybe 2,000 profit later on? Why are they happy to offer you more money if you hand them the watch, just sign a little contract and no money exchanges hands? That's the thing you should be thinking about. These guys don't do anything for the good of their health, and they're certainly not thinking about bettering your situation. Clearly, there's something up. Well, let me tell you what's going on. Grey market dealers, in essence, would be buying watches and selling them, correct? That would be basically simply what they do. That's a bit like saying that a bank takes your money, puts it in a vault, and leaves it there until you want to withdraw it. That's not what happens to your money when you hand it over to the bank. Once they get your money in their hands, they then put it into trades and stocks, and they put it out on the market, and they make your money make them money while you're just leaving it with them. Well, grey market dealers do exactly the same thing with consignment watches. Sure, they have a lot of stock of their own, and they'll sell that stock and make a clear profit. But when you consign a watch over, they're getting your asset, your collateral, that watch and whatever it's worth, into their inventory, where they can actually play around with that watch while you're waiting for the thing to be sold. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a grey market dealer and 4 guys consign their Daytonas over to you with a combined value of maybe $100,000. Let's say those watches sell in a week and you've got 100,000 in the bank from those 4 sales. Fantastic. Do you pick up the phone right there and then and call all those people who consign their watches and say, hey, I'm wiring you the money your watch sold. I'm going to take my small profit from the transaction, but I'm sending you what I promised you? Or do you hang on to that 100,000 for another few days? Let's say you get a call from someone else saying, hey, I'd love an Aquanaut, a Patek Aquanaut that costs about 70 or 80,000, depending on which model. Well, you've got that 100,000 to play with. You can go buy that $70,000, $80,000 watch and sell it to the guy, making an extra profit. Now you get all that money back in plus some. Now you can call those first 4 guys and tell them their watches have been sold. In the meantime, you got to play with that 100 grand of those watches. Now, this is a kind of a very, very basic, simplified version of what they're doing. In reality, they do that and they expand, they add wings onto that exact formula, probably over dozens, maybe hundreds of watches. And it's one of the principal ways that some grey market dealers actually make their money. They churn the money and the value of those watches over and over. So it multiplies and multiplies the same way as a bank would do it. But if you're one of those guys who consigned a Daytona and you're in no hurry for your money anyway, what difference does it make to you? As long as you get paid after a certain amount of time that you're happy with, you get the money you were promised, then who cares what the guys did with your watch and with your money? Maybe they traded it for a better watch or a more expensive watch. You don't know, but either way, you're getting paid, right? So it's all good. Doesn't matter. The problem can only occur when the grey market dealer is irresponsible with your watch. If that grey market dealer can't sell your watch or sells it to the wrong guy and doesn't get paid, or uses the money for something else that then doesn't sell, or loses the money somehow, or loses your watch, then the trouble and the complications set in. And according to Federico, you don't have a whole lot of recourse because you willingly handed over your watch. He didn't steal it from you. He didn't come into your home and take it. You actually handed it over to him willingly, and possession is 9/10 of the law. You could then chase him up in civil court, and it could be a real mess, especially with lawyer fees and so on. So you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You kind of have to wait for this grey market dealer to figure out his issues.
Call me crazy, but it is my philosophy that in order to be successful, One must project an image of success at all times.
The worst case scenarios are the Timepiece Gentleman example, Anthony Ferrer, who seems to have lost at least $2 million worth of people's money related to the watches that they consigned over to him, where he took that money to live kind of a fine lifestyle and project an image of success to his viewers and his customers, and also gambled it and did various other nefarious things with the money. Very, very irresponsible.
Whoa. You are so busted.
But according to Roman Sharf, who recently made comments on this, and Federico, who I think we trust a little bit more than Roman, let's face it, this sort of thing happens all the time. And the only reason we haven't heard about it much, and we're only hearing about Anthony's case, is because Anthony, first of all, it's a lot of money, $5 million, or between 2 and 5 million, but mostly because Anthony has an internet presence. And that's why we're hearing about him, because he makes the news, because we all know who he is. So it's very worrying indeed. And of course it should be, unless you're talking about a store, a brick and mortar store with family history that goes back generations, or some sort of enormous Watches of Switzerland or Watchfinder or somebody like that. You're dealing probably with just an individual who has this business, and you're really putting yourself at the mercy of how responsible they will be with their own business. In a way, you're investing in their business. So that's how this sort of thing can go really disastrously wrong. But there is one other factor that you have to think about. I don't consign my watches to anyone. But if I ever did, it would be to my friend Simone Frollo, who I just did a live stream with last night. He is part of 4 generations here in Venice of jewelry and watch sales. He's a super expert, and he happens to be my very good friend. I know his family. I pet his dog when I see them in the streets here. We don't even always talk watches. We talk about all sorts of things as any 2 friends would. I've sold many pieces to him and bought many from him too. And I've never consigned a watch to him. But if I were to, I wouldn't have any worries. Why? Because not only is it a store with a reputation, but he's also my friend. I know that he's not going to stiff me. I know he's going to tell me when the watch actually sold. And I know he's not going to play around with my money in a disastrous manner. There's a trust base going on there. And this is why the Anthony Ferrer thing is particularly egregious, because YouTubers who are grey market dealers are kind of creating or manufacturing in a synthetic way that trust. And it comes down to a thing called the parasocial relationship. What's a parasocial relationship? Well, it's when a friendship is developed between the viewer of a channel on anywhere on social media and that content creator. So it could be on YouTube or on Instagram or all of those. Where as a viewer, you become familiar with the person you're looking at. You get to know them almost like they're a friend. But at the same time, they also become a celebrity because you're staring at them on the screen, rather like watching an actor in a role in a movie. But it's not exactly the same thing as an actor. A celebrity actor you have no access to. You can't write them an email or drop them a DM. But you do have access to these characters who are on the YouTube screen. In a way, you end up hopefully liking them and enjoying their content, but you also feel like you know them. And you can write in the comments or in the chat, or even in many cases, direct message on Instagram and maybe even get an answer back. So it's slightly more intimate than a celebrity, but it has a celebrity feel to it. At the same time, you feel like you know them and you trust them, kind of like a friend. If your friend says that the new burger joint that opened down the street is the best burger in town, you're going to believe them because they're your friend. If the burger joint itself says the same, you may or may not believe them because you say, well, it behooves them to say that, right? You're going to trust your friend over them. Well, we as kind of influencers or personalities on social media, we're that guy. We're your friend who you trust, hopefully. Maybe for the worst, who knows? So we're not a celebrity and we're not a friend, but we're nearly both. And that particular thing there is called a parasocial relationship. Now, the thing about a parasocial relationship is it's asymmetrical. You feel like you know me because I've been honest and shown you my lifestyle, and you get to follow me around the streets of Venice, and you know all the watches that I have. I don't know you. You see me looking at you now, but I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at a camera. So what happens is an asymmetrical intimacy. Now, in some cases, I do meet viewers of the channel, and I have exchanges and so on. All of us YouTubers do. And some people we get to know more than others. But out of 90 plus thousand subs that I have now, I only know 10 or 20 of those people to speak to. But it doesn't matter. You still feel like you trust me and you know me. Now, these grey market dealer guys know that that happens. So by showing you a day in their life, they're making you familiar with them and developing that intimacy, so that when they finally get you on the phone because you want to buy a watch, you recognize their voice, their face, if they can see you or whatever, if they meet you, and their whole persona. You feel like you already trust them. And of course, you're going to hand over your watch. If you take Spencer Dreyer from BQ Watches, for example, before he started a channel, he was just another geezer selling watches. You get him on the phone and you're like, do you have a Daytona? He's like, yeah, I'm going. Yeah. How much you want to pay? You know, he's just another guy. It's like a Del Boy character or whatever. But now that he has a channel, we see the guy, we get to know the guy. We see him talking, we see him dealing with other people and so on. Now there's an intimacy being created. The viewers are going to trust him more. He's exactly the same guy with the same business, but you trust him more because now you feel like you know him. That's what's happening with these people. And that's why a lot of people are happy to consign their watches with Anthony Ferrer, because they feel like they know him. They do not know him. They're all discovering now. Now maybe they know him better than before, because now all the truth is out, we think.
Whoa. Put a little more in there, cowboy.
But before that, they handed over their watches because they saw him on the screen. They saw a day in his life. They see what he's doing. So they feel like they have familiar ground, and they also slightly idolize them. When I bump into a viewer of the channel on the street here, they want to take a photo with me and stuff. They shake my hand almost like I'm a celebrity, but they also know me. They're like, oh, you're wearing that watch? That's one of my favorites of yours. They actually know my collection because I've actually put all that stuff out into the public. Now, I have nothing to sell other than my content. Like, hopefully you'll watch it. I'm not selling any watches, but if I were to sell a watch, you would trust me because you feel like you know me. Now, that's what these guys are doing. And that's why Anthony Ferrer and Roman Sharf and Spencer Dreyer and anyone else doing the grey market thing on YouTube is on YouTube. They probably couldn't be bothered being on there if it weren't for this advantage for their business. It's creating an asymmetric intimacy with them. They have no clue who you are and they don't care who you are, but they care that you know who they are. And that's how it works. And Anthony Ferrer has been extra shrewd with this. He knows he has a dubious past. He's been arrested more than 40 times. It's phenomenal. If you heard of a grey market dealer down the street who had been arrested 40 times, you wouldn't go near their store with your watch. But by him volunteering that information and saying that he's made himself into a better man, you are automatically going to feel compassion for him. You're going to feel like, oh, well, you know, he's been through hard times. Who hasn't? I've made my own mistakes too. Forgiveness is important. And that creates a kind of a feedback between you and the person you're looking at. He's done that deliberately so that you feel that you can trust him. You can't. The truth is you can't trust any of these characters, even the ones just making content like me and Adrian Barker and so on, that we don't really have much to sell. Well, Adrian sells straps, but other than that, you don't really know us. You feel like you do. But the truth is, we don't know who you are, and we will probably never, ever meet you. It's all just in one direction, the parasocial relationship. And that's what these guys have clicked into. And the more honest and sincere and earnest they seem, the more you're going to play into their hands when you want to sell your watch, when you want to consign your watch, and so on. That's what they're playing off of.
Honey, Don't be weird.
I 100% agree with Federico. Consigning watches is just probably not a good idea unless the watch is very strange and unusual, not sought after by many. If the watch is sought after and probably sellable, there's no reason why they can't just give you all the money for it right there and then. They're taking the watch, and basically what you're doing is loaning them the value of the watch. You're loaning their business the money that that watch is worth. You're investing for a moment in their business. And if their business goes south for some reason, your money is going south with them.
I think you just became my personal hero.
Guys, I hope that clarified a few things for you. I'll leave a link for Federico's original video in the description below. Go and check it out. He knows a lot more about this stuff than most of us in this space. And if you're not subbed to his channel, you should definitely do so. I'm disappointed how other grey market dealers have dealt with him publicly. I don't believe that they'll speak badly about one another. Even Federico doesn't speak badly about other dealers. He'll only talk about the broader subject. I said it many months ago and took some flack for it. Sharks don't bite sharks. Simple as that. Unfortunately, they've all shown their true colors when it comes to the case of Anthony. They've done it also with Nico Leonard, and they'll do it again with plenty of other people. They will not disrupt their own industry, even if they see someone else do terrible things with people's money. It seems to be just the name of the game and familiar territory for them. So very, very disappointing. I don't know what effect it's going to have on the grey market, but it'll probably be good for you and I in the long term. Thanks for watching the channel. Talk to you guys soon.